Alright, I've got it partially back in the cabinet. I have everything back except for the tuner section. And I want to do a power up and see just what we get. I've got no speaker hooked up and I still have no Type 50 output tube. But I'm going to power this on and we can check a few voltages and make sure the tubes light up and so forth before we fully put the tuner back in and then figure out what we're going to do for the speaker setup. And the reason I left the tuner out is because it provides easier access down here to the power supply. I want to probe right on the 80 tube there and see what we're getting for B+, because technically if you look at the schematic, B+ comes off the center tap of the filament for the Type 80 tube. See the 5 volts there? That's the filament supply for the Type 80 tube. And the center tap of that is the B+. Unfortunately, that's all the way down here on the very bottom of this terminal strip. So I can't really get in to probe that. So I'm going to probe on right there on the filament, and that'll just be, have like 2.5 volts AC offset. Shouldn't be a big deal. Should at least let me get a ballpark figure of what the B+ is. Make sure it's actually there. I did get all my capacitors and the new resistors mounted on that terminal strip there. Got a few of the tubes back in here. I left one out so I can test the filament voltage on those and make sure it's appropriate. I did replace one capacitor down there. That was also in this block. I have this set up so that in case I ever do get a Type 50 tube, I can just pop it in there and use this. Although that's very unlikely that I will get one. But anyway, let's turn off the lights so we can see some tubes. This is plugged in. I have the meter. Let's see if I put it there. See that? Now you can't see the tubes. Oh well, whatever. I guess I'll let you see the tubes. They look cooler than the meter. Oh, you can kind of see one of them there. If I move this, you can see the other one. Alright, so you can see 2 tubes there, see the Type 80 there, and see the meter. So let's see what happens when I turn this on. Right, 400 volts, that looks appropriate. The light did come on, although very dimly. See the tubes. They are glowing. If you can see that. Very dim, but they are glowing. See them glowing just a little bit. I can see the cathode sodium glow on that one. Outside tube. Yeah, it's not going to pick it up too well. Alright, let me turn on the lights and check that voltage. And make sure. Come on. Make sure it is appropriate. Okay, so whatever. Alright, let me. This will be AC. .5 volts. That's interesting. I wonder if someone had this set up to run 27s? Well, Type 27 tubes have a 2.5 volt filament. These two are supposed to have a 3 volt filament. wonder if I could just stick a 27 in there and see what happens. Well, it could also be because I have this set on the 120 to 130 volt tap. So that could also be why that is. Let's check the 50 tube. See what that's running at. That one's right though. 7.5. Huh, interesting. I wouldn't think that this would be set up for type 27 tubes though, because it does have, did come with 3 of the 44 tubes. It came with 3 of the 44 tubes. That's curious then. Probably still work. Yeah, that's 2.5. I could probably put a 27 tube in there, and that'll be okay. Anyway, seems like I don't see any red flags so far. So I think I'll put that last tube back in, figure out what I'm going to do for the speaker, put the tuner back in, and we should be able to see what we get. I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but this thing, this metal rod here, had broken off, and the wire broke off down inside this box. So I had to cut it open a little bit to reattach that because, why is this not focusing? Because the only way to get down in here is to take this drum. This drum here has to slide off, then all the screws have to come out, and then you can lift the tuning capacitor out and get down in the bottom here. Unfortunately, this wheel is frozen on this shaft. I could not get it off. I tried penetrating oil, I tried hammering on it, everything. It would not come off. So my only option was to cut in there a little bit, just so that I could reach the wire to solder a new wire on to reach over here. So that should be good. I'll have to put that back in, and hopefully it works. One other thing I forgot to mention, this plate down here, that seems to be the only thing that grounds all 3 chassis together. The tuner chassis is only connected to the other 2 chassis through that ground plate and through the rod that slides in the side here. So that's the only 2 things connecting to the tuner chassis. I can't imagine it would work without the ground connection. So make sure you put that plate back in when putting it back together. Also, I figured out how this is supposed to come apart too. The tuner chassis is held in by 4 bolts in each of the corners. You can see the holes down there for them. So you have to take those bolts out first, then slide the tuner chassis over to slide that rod out of here. Then you can lift that out. You also have to pull the knob off the front. And then that will come out as one piece, and then you can disconnect the other pieces and lift them out separately. I didn't realize that at first. I thought that they all came out together, which was why I was kind of fumbling around with them. And the front plate doesn't have to come out at all. You can actually leave the front plate in, just disconnect those 2 wires over there. These 2 are the power switch, and then these 2 wires here are the volume control. You can just take those off and lift the power supply out without taking the front plate out. Okay, so actually I had it backwards. This comes out first, then this comes out. If you loosen the bolts on the bottom of here, you can slide this one over off that stick, and then you can loosen this one up and take it out. Anyway, so I've got tuner back in. Fought with that for a minute because I didn't realize how it went back in, but then I realized I had to take this out first. Then I could put this in, then put that in and slide it on. So we've got everything back in. I think I lost my cable that I just had. There it is. Got our audiophile quality RCA adapter. So I'm just going to attach this across where the grid and ground would be on the output tube there. And then we'll plug that into the Zenith there, because that has a phono input on the back. And then we should be, hopefully, able to listen to the radio. Alright, let's see what happens. turn the volume up over here. Sounds like it's oscillating. That was interesting. Oh, kind of sounds like a radio. Not really getting anything though. That did something. Maybe my antenna isn't connected properly. I'll try connecting it directly to one of these. If I can. Wow. So nothing there. I think it's lost right between there and there. We checked all those coils. They seem to check okay. I'll try hooking it to the other one. Although, it's kind of interesting that it gets lost between those two. I have to look into that. Oh, hey, that ain't a difference.
And November in Venice, February in Venice is also good. But the rest of the year is great as well.
Oh, it does work. That's me adjusting the volume on here now. You want to see the front of it. I think I may have forgot to put my light bulb back in though. Okay. I think we're getting two stations together though.
Years experience.
That was loud.
With Indeed, you can ask screener questions for a less. Next step would be if things continue to go well, probably around the All-Star break or so, to get him up to AAA.
Alright, so it seems to work. That's good. It probably work even better if I hook a ground up to it. So it looks like I had that backwards. This is the antenna terminal, and the other one is the ground terminal. Oh, I should have been able to see that on the schematic, I think. Right? Yeah, the antenna goes into the capacitor, and ground goes right to ground. So actually, I should have noticed that by hooking it up to the one that goes to the capacitor. Oh well, I got it right now. That was the wrong light bulb anyway, that's why it was so dim. You see that a lot. People put 6-volt light bulbs in a 2-volt radio, or this is a 3-volt radio, and then they get a real dim dial light. So I have some 2-volt bulbs I have to dig up and stick one in there. Of course, it's night, so my music station is off the air. Let's see if we can find the Canadian station. Should be up around 900, I think. There's something there, I can't tell if that's it though. Sorry, there might be something there too, but... So there you go, how often do you see someone DXing with a 1928 radio? I think that station's out of Ontario, which is, I don't know, probably at least 6 or 7 hours away from here. But anyway, it does work. Probably do a more thorough test tomorrow. If I can pick up my music station. I have to get a ground hooked up to it. I don't think my ground wire will reach over there. Yeah, not even close. But it does work. So, we'll play with this some more tomorrow.
President. That's the key point. And yes, if you attack this president, there's not like that.
Canada doesn't plan to answer in kind for Minister Christian Freeman.
I don't think that's the Canadian station. That's around 1,000. This is drifting and going, coming and going though.
Websites are treated equally takes effect tomorrow via Skype, CNET, and Sure. The thing that activists are really worried about.
Yeah, I don't think that's the Canadian one. The Canadian one I think is around 900. And we're up at around 1,000.
Gas prices are still going up, but not by too much. Oil industry analyst Trophy Lumber.
Over 3 weeks, they are nearly 2 cents higher. The new price is just over $3.01. It does look as though the price hikes are coming to an end.
The highest price increase of this one will
Yeah, we can play with this some more tomorrow. Alright, so it's the next day, well, a couple days later actually, we've got new ground wire hooked up, antenna wire hooked up, and unfortunately, the Zenith, being an AA5 set, has developed a bit of a hum with the ground wire hooked up. And yes, I did try reversing the direction that it was plugged in, and that made it about 800 times worse. So we got a hum here. If I disconnect, where is it? Oh, it's already come disconnected. Let's see if it gets any better. I doubt it. If it gets any better if I connect it, but I don't think. Oh, maybe it actually will. That's interesting. Before it wasn't doing that. Anyway. Got it connected. Although I think there's still more of a hum than there was before, but anyway. Got it connected, plugged in. Let's see what we get in the daytime. Also got a new light installed too. The appropriate 2-volt light instead of the 6-volt one they had in there. Turn up the volume. These tubes do take a while to warm up. Turn up volume here. Be warmed up. Let's see what we get. Now you can hear it coming in. Okay, so it wasn't warmed up yet. We'll restart. So I think I heard something anyway. Stupid knob. We got something at 650.
James Comey not charging her for her private email use while Secretary of State reports the Inspector General found Comey went beyond his authority but was not driven by political bias. Democrats are angry his reopening the probe cost the Clinton the election. Secretary of State Pompeo's in China after also holding posts.
Saudi Arabia.
The favorites to win are unsurprising this year: Brazil, France, Spain, and Germany. Russia.
That was KYW out of Philly. I think that's like 70 miles from here, I want to say. It looks like we're not getting my music station though. You hear a little bit of static, but it's not coming in. So we got that annoying hum too.
How bad Mark Stein is at pop culture, though. So you got you very excited. 30 seconds on the U.S. Open, please.
Let's see what happens if I stick my finger in there. Stick my finger in, KYW comes in.
News Radio 790 WAEB from the Penn Television Newsroom. A tornado may have touched down just north of the Lehigh Valley. John, the
790 comes in everywhere, that's the real strong one. Yeah, not getting my music station though. It's all the way up. Interesting, because the other Sparton one, the 526, did get this station. It barely got it, but it did get it. So that's interesting. Now it could be these are out of line, although I'm not quite sure how that would have happened. I don't have alignment instructions for this anyway, but you can align the filter here. This is the first Equisonne radio I've worked on, so I'm not quite sure what performance to expect out of this, but
The bottom of this week's deadly gas station explosion. The hours after he became trapped underground. KYW's Tim Jimenez reports.
A metal fence and orange cones surround.
The IRS off your back.
With the IRS and owe at least $10,000 in back taxes, you need tax representation. The current administration has a special program called the Fresh Start Initiative. If you're in August installations, by the way, they also do
That was
complete
$790
new
again.
plaster, new tile, and liner replacement. Aqua Pools, LV.
Unpredictable conversations. Encouragement for your day. It's the Patrick Madrid Show on Relevant Radio.
Hey, welcome back. My name is Patrick Madrid. As the lady just said, my phone number is 888-914-91.
Plus bulbs.
Here is the exclusive 3-day AccuWeather forecast. Breezy and humid with plenty of sunshine, a high 83. Clear tonight, low 57. Tomorrow, sunny and nice, high 80. And for Saturday, sunshine and clouds with a high 85. This is Andy Robb reporting for the Voice of Berks County, 8:30 a.m. WEEU.
Currently 76 degrees in Reading. For more details on these and other news stories, pick up a copy of today's Reading Eagle. I'm Tyler Werner reporting for The Voice, 8:30 a.m. WEEU in Reading and online at WEEU.com. News time is now 11:06.
You're listening to Mighty Mike in the mornings on Feedback on The Voice, 8:30 a.m. WEEU.
Now Nelson Physical Therapy, built and operated by therapists. Among the Mr. Luke Greenwald of Cherry Hill.
These laws are common sense, rational, will keep people safer, and
Requires background checks for private sales of
See if,
guns.
what difference the ground makes.
Permit to carry a
If I disconnect this.
lowers limits for the capacity of ammo magazines.
That made a difference.
Fought hard to block this package won't challenge the action in court. David Benton, KYW News Radio.
KYW News time.
Apparently the Zenith doesn't like that.
Now, Philadelphia Corporation.
So it'd be interesting to see what performance this would give without the Zenith connected. Like I said, the only reason I have the Zenith acting as the speaker is because Type 50 tubes are very expensive and I'm not putting one in here. But it seems to work pretty well. I think it could be a little bit more sensitive. You just barely hear it there over the noise. Yeah. But I guess not too bad. I'm definitely listening to the radio on it. This doesn't pick up my weak music station. I'm not sure if I mentioned this before, but that station I think is only like 250 watts. It's about 15-20 miles away on the other side of the mountain, so I'm not going to be too upset that it doesn't really get that. So, I think this is done electrically, aside from getting a Type 52, which isn't going to happen anytime soon. I just have to finish up with the lid. I have to put the finish restore on the bottom of it to try and clean that up a little bit, and put it back on, and I think it should be good then. Okay, so on the left is the Sparton model 5-26, which I have refinished before. I didn't show that on video, but after I made the video about it, I refinished it. and on the right is the Sparton Model 69. So as you can see, the finish on this one came out a lot smoother than this one. I'll show you a close-up in a minute, you can see what I'm talking about. This one I did with brush-on lacquer first, and then spray-on polyurethane. And this one, as you saw, we did the spray-on shellac and then spray-on polyurethane. So this one, I think, came out nicer than that one did, so in the future I'll probably stick with this method for refinishing. Let me bring it a close-up here. So you can see it's pretty smooth. It's not perfectly smooth, but it's not too bad. And it has a nice reflection to it. Versus this one, you can see is definitely a lot rougher. It has some dirt on it, yep. Some dust. I mean, it's not perfect, but that one's definitely a lot nicer than that one. See, the top two has a lot of orange peel on it, versus that top has a lot less. And yes, this one has some gouges, but that's not what we're interested in right now. We're just interested in the finish. You can see the side versus that side. So yeah, I definitely think that the brush-on lacquer and then spray-on polyurethane makes a much nicer finish than what we got with this one. But anyway, that's why I like to do these experiments, just to see what works the best for what I'm working on. So found a better solution here with this stuff, so I'll probably stick with that from now on. But this is back together, so you'll see this running in just a minute. Alright, so got this all back together. Got hooked up to the Zenith since I still don't have a Type 50 tube. I'm not sure if I mentioned, but those tubes cost about anywhere between $100 and $300 for, well, more than that for the globe kind. Just for one tube, so I'm not paying that. I replaced these little felt things here because the older ones were pretty hard. Yeah, I didn't cut that one perfectly, but it'll work. So let's see the inside. Lower down a little bit so you can see the front. Turn off the lights to cut out interference. First now you can't see the dial. I'll focus on that. That'll work. Sure if my volume is up. It does take a while for these tubes to warm up though. Now, let's see if we can find the station. Should be warming up by now.
is applied to rebuild and reshape
There's
any
one.
missing sections of wood. Sand paint, you're done. Shrink-free, permanent repair. Visit Avatron.com for product information and dealer locator, or order wood restoration kits at Amazon.com. The folks at Gorilla Glue created Gorilla Crystal Clear Repair Tape. You can use it on seat cushions, grill covers, even cracked smartphones. I've used it on my GPS watch.
Kind of a station though. I have a feeling that when you have the appropriate 50 output tube and the high impedance speaker hooked up, that this hum won't be an issue. I think that's just because of the setup I have here, especially with the Zenith being an AA5 might have something to do with it. Not 100% sure, but I think that would be the case.
Cleaner and wood brightener, and you'll enjoy.
That's the Philly station, KYW. Yeah, it's not going to pick up my music station though. They got more stations at night. It kind of depends on what radio you're working with. Sometimes they get more different stations at night, and sometimes they get more during the day. This one definitely got more at night. Doesn't seem to be picking up any of these stations in here, which the other ones usually pick up. Of course, it could also be that the alignment is off. I find that unlikely. I mean, there's no reason why it should just drift on its own, but it could be possible. I don't have any sort of alignment directions for this, so I'm going to leave it as is for now. Again, the interesting part of this for me is just playing around with one of these Equisonne radios, because I think the circuit design is interesting. How they have just the bandpass filter on this side, which is just a passive filter, and then just the wideband amplifier on this side is definitely a unique design. But, and that's about it for now. This is working. Doesn't look like it's been pulled out of a lake anymore. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching. There we go.
I can tell you that Javier Baez, as exciting a player he is for the Chicago Cubs, I believe he might be wreaking havoc on kids. I mean, part of the I had $1 every time my kids, my son in particular, drops down